Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Moving into a new year, it means different things for different people. But a general constant is that feeling of transition. And to help us broach some of those topics, look at them, see how we can articulate them, we have our Assistant Professor of Psychology, Dr. Margaret Nakhid-Chatoor. She joins us to discuss those different types, as well as how we can navigate them in a positive manner. Welcome, Dr. Nakhid-Chatoor. How are you doing?
Greetings, DK. Happy New Year 2023. I'm doing fine. Good to be here.
It is definitely our pleasure to be able to have this conversation. And I want to ask, though, in terms of from your practice, what are some of those things that you see become main influences on people's lives at the start of a new year?
All right. So thank you for the question. As you would know, all of us at the beginning of a new year want to do things differently. We always set out all these goals, all these grand plans and all of that. But within our space also includes persons who we may not have gotten along with, family members, colleagues, workers. And we have to navigate all of the difficult areas surrounding that. So I would say that at the beginning of a new year, persons want to not just master themselves and master their own plans, but possibly work on the relationships that they currently have in their own lives. You know, and as I was telling before, relationships by itself, just the topic is not a very easy one. Why? Because it depends on the person's circumstance, and that circumstance also depends on how that person will act, because when things crop up in relationships, we must act. However, some people react and some people proact, and reactive modes of expressions really mean that you go back to a former way of behaving, or you be very impulsive, or you get very aggressive. You react. Reacting always for me is a step backward. When we proact, it gives us a chance to really look at the situation, to redefine it, to see how can we move forward in a way that is a win-win situation, not just for ourselves, but for the person involved. And we know that in a society like ours, people seldom proact. They become very reactive. So if we could look at those attachments that we have to persons, hopefully to guide them for the new year in a more proactive way. Yeah.
And it's funny that you use that word react versus proact and make that distinction. In another conversation, I came up with liking the term response, because response seems as though more thought and intention went into it. But even the way that you would have been speaking about life and relationship, now it seems as though life doesn't stop, but it feels as though it's going a little faster certain ways, in terms of we have more individuals dying. You're looking and saying that person was so young, they didn't necessarily start to experience life as yet. Many at a younger age, now job security, it feels a little less secure. It seems that life may be coming at us a little faster. How do we deal with that? And I'm very glad you already started, so you could expand a little bit on that proact.
Yeah, life is coming at us fast, and I don't think it is not so much of what is coming at us, but how we respond. And you know, social media tells us that we must respond in particular ways. However, how we respond to situations really depends on how we have been brought up, because we are either resilient in the face of difficulty or we fall apart in the face of difficulty. And in relationships, in any situations, the attachments that we have formed when we were children in our earlier years has a lot to do with how we tackle difficulties, how we respond in relationships. Because when life comes at us, we always expect things to be the same. People in relationships don't realize that persons grow, things fall apart, situations change. And in especially couples therapy that I have, you would always hear especially the men saying, but she changed a lot on me, you know, I don't know how to move on from this. I didn't change, but women change. Women are the multitaskers. They are the ones who deliver the babies. They are the ones who have so many decisions to make. And we have to look at relationships where things happen, where things come at us. And when we remain static or we expect people to be as they always were, I think that is a very, it really places a lot of stress on the relationships, because as things come as that, as you said, we lose loved ones, there may be a change in the house, there may be job losses, and we have to respond to that. So I want to say that in relationships, we have to look at how functional we make them, the responses that we give to them, and also the kind of support that we give to others. Because I always tell persons, especially if we look at male-female relationships, many persons don't want to hear "I love you." They know that. They know that, you care for you. And they always say, "I love her, but," or "I love him, but." What's that big but? And that big but is the fact that the person has recognized that the love is still there, but the support is not there. The support, the care, the intimacy, the communication, the understanding, all of those things go out of the window. Yeah, we love each other, and there are many fractured relationships that are about divorce, whatever it is, and you hear them say, "I still love her, I still love him, but." And that, for the new year, I think that is what we need to look at. That is what we need to work on. What is the big but in the relationship that keeps us from fulfilling ourselves, fulfilling our true potential, really being supported? I'm talking about parents in relationships with their children. The fact that I think a big factor in these relationships is that we no longer listen. We always have the answer to everything. We no longer give people that listening ear. So it's a lot of things to look at if we have to move forward.
And in terms of those things that we have to look at, we have 2 minutes on this side of the conversation. But sometimes when we think relationships, we think person to person, we think just family, but work relationships going into the new year, work from home, going back in traffic. It seems as though some of those lines are blurring, where people have responsibility to someone outside of themselves, and what means professional time versus personal time. Is it that we need to start kind of renegotiating some of these lines that previously would have felt a little more black and white?
Correct. Because no matter where we are, in whatever space we are, Dike, we want to have a sense of well-being. We want to feel secure. We want to feel safe, and we want to be happy. In workspaces where colleagues are concerned, sometimes there's a lot of infighting and there's a lot of lack of support, so that people feel isolated, they feel hurt. And in many of these instances, persons do not address their problems. They keep it in, they hold it in. And they just tolerate. And of course, if you do not fix a wound, you put a plaster on a sore, it festers, and you get angry and aggressive, and you blame. And many persons cannot respond to their work colleagues in the same way that they would respond to family members. So you take that situation home and you begin to scapegoat, you begin to attack your family members, those who would stay there no matter what you do. No matter what you give them, they would stay around. And it is such an unfair situation. So relationships, yes, could be very toxic in the workplace. And if you know that you are in a situation where you have colleagues who do not understand you, where you have bosses who have misused you, abused you, now is the time to examine, is that a space where you want to be? Is that a relationship that you want to carry in this new year, and really being unkind to you, to your own self?
And this is the point. We take a short break. We are returning to this very important conversation with Dr. Margaret Nakhid-Chatoor, moving into the new year with positivity. Stay with us. We return with more. Welcome back to In Depth with me, Dike Rostant, looking at how we can enter 2023 with positivity, especially about our relationships. however it is you define that word. We're doing so with educator and psychologist, Dr. Margaret Nakhid-Chatoor, Assistant Professor of Psychology at the University of Trinidad and Tobago. And there are a lot of things that we've said thus far, Dr. Nakhid-Chatoor, but in terms of just that positivity, what kind of opportunities does a new year present in terms of if we're willing to see some of those opportunities? Because sometimes I think it's just perception.
Yeah. I always think a new year gives us a new beginning, a fresh start. As I always say, I always feel, you know, you go to bed feeling a certain way, you go to bed in a dark space, but you get up again and it's a new day, a new morning. And I always believe that is a new opportunity to begin again. Some people have described for me dark spaces. They can't get up of the bed. They don't want to go to work. They don't want to face the morning. And I want to let you know that take some small steps. So if you get up the next day and you just go to the bathroom, brush your teeth, and you go back in your bed, that's a step. The second day, do the same thing, but go out into the yard and water a plant and come back in. Take small steps. Get out of those dark spaces, because let me tell you, when you're in those dark spaces, things tend to be a little bit confusing. You know, you tend to be a little bit irrational, especially if you have mixed a lot of how you're feeling with substance use and alcohol use and other things that you have added to that mix. In the new year, we talked about being proactive, and sometimes you have to get out of that funk, even if you do not feel like it. Get out of that space where you may not want even to talk to family members or to persons. You have to be kinder to not them only, but to yourself. You have to be kinder to yourself, because you want, as I always say, life is happening around you. It's not going to stop because you feel like wanting it to stop, or you just want to hunker down into your dark space. Life is happening around you, with you. And many times we are sometimes unfair to the people around us because they don't understand what's happening with us. We don't talk about it. We isolate ourselves. And we have to take more time, I think, in this new year to spend with those persons we love within our own space. And I have seen so many community persons out there doing good work with everybody else, but not taking the time with their own loved ones, with the people in their space, to communicate with them. I've heard children and young people tell me that nobody listens to them. They feel underappreciated. They feel misunderstood. Let us listen. If we have to take a word from all of this for the new year, it is listening, not judging, not giving your opinions, but listening to what the other has to say and appreciating where they are, even if it is not in a space that you would like. And we have to be present. Be present to persons in our busy lives. Sometimes we do all sorts of things and we are not present. We are not in the moment, as it were.
And I take that point of looking at the possibilities of a new day, but how do you make that distinction between the joy and the opportunity that tomorrow brings versus tomorrow? I'll do it tomorrow, man.
Yeah, that's where procrastination comes in. You know, we always want to do it tomorrow because it seems, you know, we don't want to face, and it's what we're talking about, facing the challenges. And many times we don't want to, you know, and that again goes back to how we have handled things in our early childhood, because how we handle experiences, or how we saw our parents do it, or our caregivers do it, influences us as adults in taking that necessary step. So we have seen our parents tolerate abuse. We have seen our parents be abusive to us. And sometimes as adults, we feel that that is the perspective that we should take with our own children, with those in our lives. I always say that there is a fine line between childhood and adulthood, but as an adult, we make decisions. We make decisions that push us to be better. And when we talk about a new day, laughter, light, it may seem all hunky-dory, but again, it speaks to our resilience to face challenges out there, that a boss who always intimidates us and tells us things and we hold it in because we say, you know, we can't, better can't be done. But even though they're doing those things, what do you tell yourself You go home and you just say, you know what, that too will pass. And Dike, we don't like to hear it on a medium like this, but spirituality counts a lot here. Our belief in something other than ourselves, our belief that things will become better, our belief in a God, whatever you want to call your God, our belief. And I always tell my clients, hold on to something, because if you're not holding on to something, you will fall down, or somebody will present to you something that seems better. So you have to have your own philosophy in life. You have to have your own spirituality that makes you cope with situations. And for this new year, I want all of you to think of something that you would carry you through the tough times. Something like, God is in charge, or this too shall pass, or another day is happening, I will do it then. And all of that, tomorrow never comes. You only have the present in which you deal with people in your lives. And more importantly, you love yourself. Many of us in the society, we do not love ourselves. We're always busy doing things for everyone else, but we do not give that same care, that self-care to ourselves. And that is what we need to look at. And say thank you. Say thank you to those in your life. Show appreciation, encourage someone. Be emotionally available to people.
And in the 2.5 minutes we have left, how do we be available in the moment, show gratitude while trying to move with love and that spirituality, while we have work or personal relationships that want to stay mired in the past versus that vision that we are seeing and working towards in terms of that reality that we want to create? How do we do that?
Yes, Dike. And it is most important to remember that you have no control over how another person acts with you. You have no control over how they react. And if we remember that the only person that we are in charge of, that we have control of, is ourselves, that would make us really move forward. People can tell us what they want. They can force us to stay down. But if we have that belief that no matter what is brought our way, we can move forward. In the new year, ring a friend who you have not spoken to for years. Apologize to someone. Thank someone who did something good for you last year and you didn't get a chance or a moment to message them. Listen and be part of your community. Our communities, I think, are falling apart. I think we have to go back to the system where our neighbors looked out for each other, looked out for each other's children with a vision that things will be okay. We have become too self-centered, too egoistic in our society, so that we are only interested in our own. But let me tell you, no community, no society can survive if we do not look out for each other. And it starts with the opinions we have of ourselves, the opinions we have of who we are and how we are in this space to serve others and to help others. That's what I believe.
And I want to thank you for sharing that belief with us. And you're saying something that resonates with me and it reminds me of something that Joseph Remy would have said, that homes in communities are very and vastly different from houses in areas. So I guess that is something that we can be looking forward to. One, in terms of seeing, but two, also have our hand in helping to develop the things that we want to see. So we want to thank you so much, Dr. Margaret Nakhid-Chatoor, letting us know some of the things that we can be doing in terms of like those incremental steps, because sometimes we just see that distance and say, well, how are we going to get there, boy? But we want to thank you for helping us see a little bit of what we can do. And on behalf of the entire TTT News team, this has been In Depth with me. Thank you so much for joining us.